ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविविरीतं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः. Namaste and good evening everybody. Happy Dashera or Shubha Vijaya, it's the same thing. This is the conclusion of the worship of the Divine Mother, Durga. Also the victory of good over evil. We are studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and we are on page 189 in my book. That is, the date is 11th March 1883. 11th March 1883. That happened to be Sri Ramakrishna's birthday. So a lot of people have come and the celebrations are just getting underway. And there's going to be music, quite the party. So I'm reading from the bottom of page 189. As usual, I'll read through a page or two and then we will discuss it, and you're free to ask questions, give your observations and so on. So, this has been going on for some time. You remember the discussions Sri Ramakrishna had with the devotees before this. Now, presently some devotees from Konnagar arrived, singing kirtan to the accompaniment of drums and cymbals. As they reached the northeast veranda of Sri Ramakrishna's room, the master joined in the music, dancing with them, intoxicated with divine joy. Now and then he went into samadhi, standing still as a statue. While he was in one of these states of divine unconsciousness, the devotees put thick garlands of jasmine around his neck. The enchanting form of the master reminded the devotees of Chaitanya, another incarnation of God. The master passed alternately through the moods of divine consciousness. The inmost through three moods of divine consciousness. The inmost, when he completely lost all knowledge of the outer world. The semi-conscious, when he danced with the devotees in an ecstasy of love. And the conscious, when he joined them in loud singing. It was indeed a sight for the gods to see the master standing motionless in samadhi, with fragrant garlands hanging from his neck, his countenance beaming with love, and the devotees singing and dancing around him. When it was time for his noon meal, Sri Ramakrishna put on a new yellow cloth and sat on the small couch. His golden complexion, blending with his yellow cloth, enchanted the eyes of the devotees. Before I go on, just an observation about this. So what is this description? The people find it captivating. There are many such occasions when people came to see Sri Ramakrishna and they found it very captivating. Just to look at this person. It is said, incarnation of God, the form of God is captivating. That's one of the purposes of God having a form. Our problem in spiritual life is not that we don't understand philosophy. We do. Our problem in spiritual life is not that we don't want to be spiritual. We want to be. Everybody wants to be. Our problem in spiritual life is desire in the form of this pull towards the world. So our attention is pulled there. Form, sound, taste, touch, smell, and varieties of these and enchanting the senses. And then we remain immersed in worldliness. Now, here is a technology which addresses that problem directly. That can we have an extraordinary form which is delightful to look at? You can't take it. Often when descriptions of Sri Ramakrishna are there or Krishna are there, you can't take your eyes away. That's one classical way of describing the form of beautiful form of God. You can't take the eyes away, your eyes away from looking at it. Can we have form? Can we have sound? Even, fragrance and the delicious food, the prasad offered to God. So that which will not take away our attention from God, indeed it will captivate our attention in God and take it away from the world. Do a kind of spiritual jujitsu to the world which was pulling us along, dragging us along, and taking our attention in spite of us. We want to be spiritual. We want to focus on God. We want to remain centered. Sri Sarada Devi says that the goal of life is to realize the truth or God and spend the rest of your life in contemplation of that truth or God. That's the goal of life. But we can't. We are shaken, swept away. Now, can we have a method, a technology which will not sweep us away, which will help us rather using the same senses? I want to see beautiful things. Here, look. I want to taste beautiful things. Here is delicious prasad. This offered food. I want to hear wonderful music. Here are the wonderful names of God. Across the world's traditions, there are these, some of the most beautiful art and music has been inspired by spirituality. In fact, until very recently, until about 200 years ago or so, across the world, most of art, music, everything came from, based on religion, spirituality. So, what is the idea behind it? The idea behind it is the very instruments which root us in the world, those very instruments, those capacities will help us to be fixed in God. Right? Otherwise, what happens? Otherwise, it's a struggle. The ancient paths, the paths of yoga, for example, you would have to close your eyes in meditation. Put in earplugs. Don't listen. Don't hear. Keep quiet. Taste the most tasteless food only. I saw this cartoon. Dennis the Menace is asking his mother, who's cooking, and he is asking, "So, is it something I like or something that's good for me?" That's our problem. Now, can it be something that I both like and is good for me? That's the beauty of the bhakti approach. It's delightful and it's good for you, spiritually good for you. So the form of God. There's this beautiful story about Ramanuja, which I love. In Ramanujacharya, 1,000 years ago, the great master of Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, in Sri Rangam, one of the greatest temples in the south of India, temple of Vishnu, the reclining Vishnu. So Ramanuja was already a well-established spiritual master by that time, with many disciples and all. This is around 1000 AD. And one day, in a big festival, so temple festival, thousands and thousands of people have come for that festival, and there are the icons of God are taken out in a procession. They're called Utsava Murti. The festival icons, they're taken out in procession. There's a chanting of the Vedas, there are offerings, and so on and so forth. Ramanuja is there, and so are thousands of pilgrims and devotees. Now, in this very uplifting environment and joyous environment, suddenly they saw this young man holding an umbrella over a young girl and looking not at the icons, not enjoying the festival, but looking at the face of that young girl. Now, people noticed it, and anyway, they tried to look at it, but Ramanuja noticed it also, and he sent his disciples, call that young man. People were taken aback. Why is Ramanuja paying attention, great master paying attention to this obvious, good for nothing? And so they go to him, and they said, the Master Ramanuja is calling you. So he puts down the umbrella, he goes to Ramanuja, bows down, and Ramanuja asks him, "Who are you? Who is that girl? And what are you looking at?" And this man, he's a powerfully built young man, he said, "I am Dhanurdas, a wrestler by profession. And that girl is Hemamba, and she has the most beautiful pair of eyes in the universe, so I'm looking at her." And the people around, they said, "Oh my God, what is he saying in front of Ramanuja?" But Ramanuja was not at all taken aback. He was not nonplussed. He said, "Do you want to see the even more beautiful pair of eyes?" And Dhanurdasa said, "Yes." And then come in the evening. when the arati, the evening lamps, the light offering to the Lord is going on in the temple, come there. I will show you an even more beautiful pair of eyes. And Dhanurdasa said, but will they let me in? Because it's the inner sanctum of the temple. Say that I called you, and they'll let you in. And that's what happened. In the evening, this young man turned up, and he was brought into the presence of Ramanuja in front of the deity, which is a very impressive, but very dark and quiet place. So when the priest does the arati, the evening arati, waving the lamps, so part by part of the image, the feet of the image, the waist, the chest, the face are lit up in turn and in the dim light. So when the light fell on the face of Vishnu, Ramanuja caught hold of Dhanurdasa's hand and said, see, the most beautiful pair of eyes in the universe. And Dhanurdasa looked, and he saw not a stone image. He saw the living face of God looking back at him, the eyes of God looking at him. He went into samadhi, every hair standing on end. And so it was an extraordinary thing, And after that, we know the story that he and also Hemamba, they became very close disciples of Ramanuja. So the form of God, the sheer beauty of God. Here you see the tremendous beauty. There's an extraordinary beauty. It's not so much a physical beauty, but though people who have seen Ramakrishna, they found him to be physically very attractive also. But it's a very spiritual beauty. I've seen the most ordinary of people, very senior elderly monks. There's an extraordinary attraction about them. Some great inner beauty is there which shines forth, and you can't take your eyes away. Baburam Maharaj, Swami Premananda, one of the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, there's this description which is so unforgettable. Again, on the birthday of Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna had passed long ago. So the birthday was being celebrated in the main monastery in Belur. It was a day-long celebration. Thousands of people coming and going, and Swami Premananda was the manager of the entire monastery. So it was his duty to conduct the entire celebrations, which is a very busy time. And so there's a wonderful description of Swami Premananda in those hours of the celebration. From the early morning, Swami Premananda was moving around the grounds of the monastery, overlooking the celebrations. There were bands of exactly like this kirtan, singing with drums and cymbals. They were coming across the river on boats. It's on the bank of the river Ganga. They were coming and landing, and Premananda would go up to receive them. Now he was slightly built and very fair and very it was very captivating kind of look, and he was always in sort of a semi-conscious ecstatic state. So as the kirtan singers would land, they would immediately notice him and they would surround him, even if they didn't know who he was. They would surround him, and then they would start singing and playing the music and taking the names of God. They would sing and dance, and he would move with them and go to receive the next band of musicians coming. And in this way, he became a center of attraction in those few hours. And what I can't forget is a wonderful pen picture of the afternoon. The Swami, not to miss his afternoon siesta, so he went in the afternoon there's a room in the monastery, it's still there, it's called the visitor's room. So he went there and lay down on the carpet just to, catch a nap. And the visitor's room has big windows. And the description is hundreds of people pressing against the windows just to catch a glimpse of him sleeping there, just to keep on looking at his face. Another description is there. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whom is immediately Sri Ramakrishna is compared to just now, having in the midst of kirtan in Jagannath Puri, in the place where Lord Jagannath is worshipped now in Orissa. So, always in Orissa. Because Orias will become very annoyed if I say now in Orissa. It was always in Orissa. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there in kirtan, in the midst of this joyous singing and dancing, in the evenings, people holding aloft flaming torches, fire. And they were surrounding him and dancing, and they would hold aloft the light. He's oblivious of them, the crowd surrounding him. But they hold aloft the light, people pressing against each other to catch a glimpse of his face when he's in ecstasy. it's the closest that we will get to seeing God. That's the beauty of it. And that's the thing. It attracts us so powerfully, it takes our attention away from our usual worldly pulls. Both attraction and repulsion. What traps us in the world, not only desire, but also fear, also anger, also anxiety, unhappiness. All of those are swept aside when you see that face. The face of God. Swami Vivekananda has in the hymn Om Ring Ritam, the hymn which we chant every day in the evening arati, he has one line is there, the second stanza. Krityam karoti kalush, no, tejas taranti tarasa tvai tripta trishna. This fiery radiance of the senses and the mind, this is what occludes God. Spiritual seekers cross over this fiery radiance, penetrate through it and go beyond. That means you overcome the pull of the senses, overcome the pull of the mind, and you go beyond. How? Tvai tripta trishna. Their thirst being quenched in you, my Lord. This thirst we have for fulfillment in the world. There's only one thing that can quench this thirst. The world cannot. God can. In philosophical language, our thirst is for the infinite. The world is finite. It will never quench your thirst for the infinite. Upanishad, we are studying, those who are attending the Mundaka Upanishad class. But what is said there? Parikshya lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedamayat nastyakrita kritena. Examine your life, O spiritual seekers. Spiritual seekers, you examine your life and attain to a dispassion about this world. How? You realize the infinite can never be obtained through the finite. That which is beyond cause cannot be obtained through cause. It's a very philosophical way of saying it, that the little things that we can get and which we pursue and get in this world will not quench us because we want the limitless. Chandogya Upanishad says, Yo vai bhuma tat sukham, nalpe sukham asti. That which is the vast, that alone is happiness. There is no happiness in the small. And it applies at every level. In our worldly life, in our emotional life, in our ethical life, in our spiritual life, everywhere it applies. That which is the vast, that which is the great, that alone is the happiness. There is no happiness in the limited, in the small, in the petty. Okay. All of this to explain why people found him so attractive and why this is mentioned so powerfully here. After his meal, Sri Ramakrishna rested a little on the small couch. Inside and outside his room crowded the devotees, among them Kedar, Suresh, Ram, Manomohan, Girindra, Rakhal, Bhavanath, and M. M is the one who noted down this, and later on the book was published. Rakhal. Rakhal's father was also present. A Vaishnava Goswami was seated in the room. A Vaishnava spiritual master was seated in the room. The master said to him, Well, what do you say? What is the way? What is the way to God realization? What is the way? The Goswami says, Sir, the chanting of God's name is enough. The scriptures emphasize the sanctity of God's name for the Kali Yuga. Master, yes, there is no doubt about the sanctity of God's name. But can a mere name achieve anything without the yearning love of the devotee behind it? One should also feel great restlessness of soul for the vision of God. Suppose a man repeats the name of God mechanically, while his mind is absorbed in lust and gold. Can he achieve anything? Mere muttering of the magic words doesn't cure one of the pain of a spider or scorpion sting. One must also apply the smoke of burning cow dung. There's a footnote. It's a primitive medicine used by the villagers for scorpion bites. Goswami. But what about Ajamila then? He was a great sinner. There was no sin he had not indulged in. But he uttered the name of Narayana on his deathbed, calling his son who also had that name, and thus he was liberated. Master. Perhaps Ajamila had done many spiritual things in his past births. It is also said that he once practiced austerity. Besides, those were the last moments of his life. What is the use of giving an elephant a bath? It will cover itself with dirt and dust again and become its former self. But if someone removes the dust from its body and gives it a bath just before it enters the stable, then the elephant remains clean. Suppose a man becomes pure by chanting the holy name of God, but immediately afterwards commits many sins. He has no strength of mind. He doesn't take a vow not to repeat his sins. A bath in the Ganges undoubtedly absolves one of all sins. But what does that avail? They say that the sins perch on the trees along the bank of the Ganges. No sooner does the man come back from the holy waters than the old sins jump on his shoulders from the trees. All laugh. The same old sins take possession of him again. He is hardly out of the water before they fall upon him. Therefore I say, chant the name of God, and with it pray to Him that you may have love for Him. Pray to God that your attachment to transitory things as wealth, name, and creature comforts may become less and less every day. To the Goswami, with sincerity and earnestness, one can realize God through all religions. The Vaishnavas will realize God, and so will the Shaktas, the Vedantists, and the Brahmos. The Musalmans and Christians will realize Him too. All will realize God if they are earnest and sincere. Some people indulge in quarrels, saying one cannot attain anything unless one worships our Krishna. Or nothing can be gained without the worship of Kali, our Divine Mother. Or one cannot be saved without accepting the Christian religion. This is pure dogmatism. The dogmatist says, my religion alone is true and the religions of others are false. This is a bad attitude. God can be reached by different paths. Further, some say that God has form and is not formless. Thus they start quarreling. A Vaishnava quarrels with a Vedantist. One can rightly speak of God only after one has seen Him. He who has seen God knows really and truly that God has form and that He is formless as well. He has many other aspects that cannot be described. Once some blind men chanced to come near an animal that someone told them was an elephant. They were asked what the elephant was like. The blind men began to feel its body. One of them said that the elephant was like a pillar. He had touched only its leg. Another one said it was like a winnowing fan. He had touched only its ear. In this way, the others, having touched its tail or belly, gave their different versions of the elephant. Just so, a man who has seen only one aspect of God limits God to that alone. It is his conviction that God cannot be anything else. To the Goswami, how can you say that the only truth about God is that He has form? It is undoubtedly true that God comes to earth in a human form, as in the case of Krishna. And it is true as well that God reveals Himself to His devotees in various forms. But it is also true that God is formless. He is the indivisible existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. He has been described in the Vedas both as formless and as endowed with form. He is also described there both as attributeless and as endowed with attributes. Do you know what I mean? Satchidananda is like an infinite ocean. Intense cold freezes the water into ice, which floats on the ocean in blocks of various forms. Likewise, through the cooling influence of bhakti, one sees forms of God in the ocean of the Absolute. These forms are meant for the bhaktas, the lovers of God. But when the sun of knowledge rises, the ice melts. It becomes the same water it was before. Water above and water below, everywhere nothing but water. Therefore a prayer in the Bhagavata says, O Lord, Thou hast form, and Thou art also formless. Thou walkest before us, O Lord, in the shape of a man. Again, Thou hast been described in the Vedas as beyond words and thought. But you may say that for certain devotees, God assumes eternal forms. There are places in the ocean where the ice doesn't melt at all. This is before global warming. It assumes the form of quartz. All right, this is enough to be going on with. That's a lot, actually. Let me go back to where we started. So Sri Ramakrishna is asking the Vaishnava devotee. Now notice, if you remember the last time's reading, there was a person who came who was studying Vedanta at home. If you remember, he comes and says, Om is the ultimate reality. And the Om, the meaning of Om is, we discussed it last time. And the silence beyond Om is the real meaning of Om, which is pure consciousness, unmanifest, beyond words, beyond description, beyond objectification. And Sri Ramakrishna corrected him. He said to him, you'll see the exact mirror image of that, but something different here now. He said to that person who was a Vedantist, a non-dualist, he said, look, what's the use of just a name, like a word, a mantra? I don't get happiness if I hear only your name. I must see you also. Now, the deep philosophical meaning of that, from a Vedantic perspective, is that you realize beyond body and mind, beyond waking, dreaming, deep sleep, underlying all of them is one existence, consciousness, bliss. You remember we discussed the fourth? Waker is one, dreamer two, deep sleep three. Beyond the three is the fourth, which underlies the three. That one appears as these three. Sri Ramakrishna says, see, you dismiss these three, waker, dreamer, deep sleep, and come to the fourth, witness consciousness, in order to realize the fourth, existence, consciousness, bliss. But Sri Ramakrishna says, in Bengali, in one place, he says, Ami shabloi, I accept everything, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep also. What it means is, that infinite reality appears as all of this. Your waking world, your dream world, your deep sleep darkness, what is it? It is nothing but the absolute reality, existence, consciousness, bliss. So he corrected him. Now notice what he's going to do here. The Vaishnava devotee, this Vaishnavism, the worship of Vishnu and the avatars of Vishnu, Rama and Krishna, is a phenomenon across India, across Hinduism. Maybe the most popular form of Hinduism. Professor Jack Hawley was here from Columbia, so he's an expert on Hinduism. And if you remember, he was saying, the real Hinduism is not your Vedanta and Upanishads and Brahman, or not even the yogic meditation. The real Hinduism of people, if you in India, is Rama, is Krishna, is Vishnu, and of course Divine Mother Durga. That's the mainstream Hinduism. He was right here in this place. He was joking. He said, in India, if you're going in a train and if I ask people, so I've been teaching Hinduism, are you aware of Shankara's Brahma Sutras? Or have you studied the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali? They will give you blank looks. What is he talking about? But if you ask, do you know Ram, do you know Krishna? Krishna. Some people told him, this is Krishna. Mathura yahin par hai. There's Mathura and there's Vrindavan. You should go and take a look there. So, there are branches, varieties of this Vaishnavism. One particular variety is in Bengal. It's called the Bengal School of Vaishnavism, Gaudiya Vaishnavism. So in the Bengal School of Vaishnavism, the central figure was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the spiritual masters are called Goswamis. And so this is one of them. And they insist on a few things. One is, God is Krishna. Not that God is many things and Krishna too. No, Krishna is God. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. And the most powerful method of spiritual practice is repetition of the names of God, repetition of Krishna's name, especially the Hare Krishna mantra. So this is a central part of the teaching. And look at how Sri Ramakrishna subtly modifies it. He supports it entirely. He says, yes, you're right. But that's not all of it. There's something beyond. And look at what he says. So what's the way? And now you can predict what the answer will be. The Goswami says, sir, the chanting of God's name is enough. And that has to be Krishna's name. You say, yeah, God's name. So I'll chant Kali's name. And he says, absolutely not. You can, but it's no good. You have to chant Krishna's name. So he says that's enough. And and then he quotes the scriptures, saying the scriptures say the sanctity. In this age, other practices do not work. Your Vedanta, maybe they were right, who cares? But in this day and age, only the name of God. The easiest, most powerful, And there are scriptural quotations which say in Kali Yuga, it's Naradiya Bhakti. Sri Ramakrishna himself has taught this many times. I remember this popular folk singer in our main monastery in Belur. After the birthday of Sri Ramakrishna, there are various popular programs like theatrical displays, folk theatre called Yatra, and then songs of which is popular in the villages of Bengal, Pala Giti and all that. So one of these folk singers was saying that there was a time in the Satya Yoga, the age of truth, the best age, where people directly through meditation and philosophy they could attain enlightenment. Then came the next age, the Treta Yoga and the Dwapara Yoga. There you not only meditation and philosophy, but you needed austerities also, a very hard physical discipline, like fasting. And then he joked, he said, fasting, but in today's age, if I tell people about fasting, the first question is, oh, fasting, so what shall I eat? I mean, what's allowed? So my focus is not on the not eating, my focus is on what shall I eat, what's allowed. Yeah. So now the easiest way is to repeat the name of God. Then notice what Sri Ramakrishna says. He says, yes, that's true. However, but can just repeating a name achieve anything? He says, without the yearning love, intense desire for realizing God. He does not give a philosophical meaning to it. He's talking to a devotee, a lover of God. So you are repeating the name of Krishna, but if you do it mechanically, how much can you achieve? How much will it take? The heart must go towards God. There must be a pull towards the divine. One should feel great restlessness of the soul for the vision of God. We feel restlessness, but it's not for the vision of God. We feel restless for everything else. What we want in life, what we are afraid of in life, those things make us restless immediately. The devotee is made restless because of the love of God, the pull of God. So there must be great restlessness for the vision of God. If repeat the name of God and yet the mind is immersed in worldliness, and he is very particular about it. He says lust and gold. The mind is immersed in that. And at the same time repeating the name of God. One day, so there's a nice, funny and also instructive description in the gospel. Somebody was sitting in his room, Sri Ramakrishna's room, and with a rosary, repeating the name of God, going on and on and on. And Sri Ramakrishna comes and says, I wonder what they repeat for so much. He says, I can take the rosary in my left hand and repeat it once and go into samadhi. Usually take the rosary in the right hand. And it takes long hours of repetition to center the mind in God, in the name of God. Sri Ramakrishna can do it once or twice and the mind goes into samadhi. What are these people going on and on? But the point he makes is this. It's not the name alone which is important. The name is important, the mantra is important, but it's the mind behind the mantra, the engine which drives the mantra. It's our mind. And he gives an example, a very rural example. Mere muttering of magic words. So somebody bitten by a snake or a scorpion, the poison. So in the villages, even now there are these treatments. And it works. I mean, you might call it, what is it called? The what effect? Placebo effect. You can call it the placebo effect. But anyway, the patient will say it worked. So whatever you call it. So there's a village doctor comes and, folk doctor comes and chants mantras and then blows some smoke on you and all of that. So Sri Ramakrishna gives that example. Just muttering the mantras won't help. You have to actually give some physical treatment also. Exactly like that, he says. Just muttering the name of Krishna won't help. Then the Goswami has a counter example. He doesn't take it lying down. He pushes back. He says, but what about Ajamila? This is a well-known story. Ajamila was a very sinful person who committed all kinds of sins and lived a very dissolute life. And then at the end of his life, still at no point was he being religious. He was about to die. But his son's name was Narayana. So at the last moment of his life, he remembered his I mean, his mind went to his family. He was just hankering for his son. And he called out Narayana for his son. But because he called out Narayana, he was not dragged into hell by the emissaries of the god of death. Rather, the emissaries from heaven came and took him to the abode of God, to Narayana. So such is the power of the name of God. Now see, there are many such stories. But there's a way of using the stories and misusing the stories. The use of the story is that the name of God is very powerful. It's very powerful. As powerful or more powerful than meditation, easier and more powerful than meditation. As powerful or more powerful than Vedantic inquiry, and easier certainly. But it doesn't mean that you do whatever you want, just lead your life, whatever you have done. At the last moment of your life, just mutter once the name of God, and you will get that highest realization and freedom from samsara, which spiritual seekers spend their entire life working towards. You get it like, no, that's not what it means. That's not what it means. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna says. Perhaps Ajamila had done many spiritual things in his past life. So Sri Ramakrishna is pushing the spiritual practice, effort. And why not? The Goswami, why is he doing this? The Goswami has faith that the name of God will take him across. True. But there's a kind of escapism involved here where if I truly have faith, if I truly love God and I want God, I would put forth all effort. See, when we want something in the world, how much effort we put forth? Whether it's money, relationships, Facebook likes, and whatever it is, we put forth effort. We are delighted if my project works out. We are heartbroken if our project doesn't work out. Is it like that with me and God? No, it's lukewarm. It's lukewarm. That shows I really don't want it. I really don't want it. A monk whom I know, who at one time, he told me, I can't tell his name, he practiced intensive meditation for some time. And then he reached a certain level of experience and then he couldn't go any further. And he went and asked the president of our order, Swami Bhuteshanandaji, at that time. So, I have had these experiences, but that's it. Nothing more. I've plateaued out. And I clearly know this is not final, or nor is it particularly deep. And Bhuteshanji, he would speak in a slow drawl and quiet, and he would just say the right thing, He was very kind, very soft, but also very matter of fact. So when the Swami said this, I cannot make any progress, Bhuteshanji said, I'll tell you in Bengali and translate, Bujhte hobe ichha nahi. You should understand that you don't want it. You should understand that there is no real desire anymore. So, that love of God, that I want it. All right, love of God, good. So why don't I have love of God? Why not? Because that same love is being used elsewhere. It's the same psychic energy, the same force, the same power. It is flowing towards the world in 100 different things which we call my desires, my wants, my Christmas. It's coming, Christmas shopping list. Amazon Prime Day. It's moving there. The various passions, desires, lusts, disappointments which go towards the world, that's the same force. That's why Sri Ramakrishna says, he gives the example of this man who chants the holy name of God. And suppose you say it purifies him. Yes, it does. He even agrees it does. But immediately afterwards commits many sins. So why? This is the human condition. Why do we do things we decided not to do? Why are we pulled in two directions? Why are we pulled in two directions? And Sri Ramakrishna gives the answer here that he gives a way out. He has no strength of mind. He doesn't take a vow not to repeat his sins. I remember this monk in the Himalayas. He said this very nicely. He's in Hindi. But what he said was this to the gathered devotees and monks. You're tormented by the thought of your past wrongdoings and sins. All right, I give you absolution. Go. You are freed henceforth from all sin on one condition. Take a vow not to do it again. Try not to do it again. Then you're freed. This is important. Until we cleanse ourselves, all these paths, whether karma yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga, jnana yoga, the paths of meditation, paths of philosophical inquiry, paths of devotion, none of them will really open up unless there is an inner purification. And he gives the example of the man, one example of the man who took a dip in the Ganga. So Hindus, we believe that if you take a dip in the Ganga, your sins are washed away. A dip in a holy river, and the Ganga is the holiest of them all. And so he took a dip in the river and all his sins flew away because they can't withstand the Ganga, the purity of the Ganga. But they didn't fly away very far. They sat on the bank of the river and sat on the trees. And the moment the man came out, they jumped on top of him and caught hold of him again. Barely had he come out of the water that they jumped on him. This is a very simple truth, that we go back and repeat the same errors again. The power of habit is so strong that we have driven grooves into our mind of repeating what we, this pursuing what we decided to pull out of. Then he gives a second example of the elephant who was given a bath. So you remember elephants, dusty and covered with mud, and you can see this in India. The elephant herds are taken. If there are trained elephants, they're taken into the river and given a nice bath. The mouth scrubs them down. And then the elephant comes out and rolls on the dust. And there's a reason why they do that. Actually, the dust and all, it protects them from insects. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the point is, it becomes dirty immediately afterwards, after the bath. So, and then Sri Ramakrishna says, then there's only one way, that you give the elephant the bath and then take them straight to the stable. What is the point here? He said that was at the Ajamila's last day of life, before he died. So he took the name of God, thought about God. It's quite possible. He's not undercutting the story of Ajamila, because people have faith in the name of God. So, yes, hold on to God, take the name of God, but don't sin again. Don't sink back into the mud again. I'll come to you. Don't forget your question. So what is the solution? Sri Ramakrishna gives a threefold solution. One, therefore I say, one, prescription, chant the name of God. One. Two, pray to Him that you may have love. See, we bemoan the fact that we truly do not want God. It's true, we have to admit, I don't want enlightenment like the Buddha wanted enlightenment. I don't want Krishna like Meera wanted Krishna. I don't want Kali like Ramakrishna wanted Kali. I don't want to see God like Vivekananda wanted to see God. But there is a saving grace. The saving grace is this. I can honestly say that I want to want. I really want to have that kind of an intense desire for God. If you do that, then you can practice this. Chant the name of God and pray to Him that you may have love for Him. So I want to have love for God. Pray that that want is fulfilled. We want so many things. Pray that the desire, the bhakti, love of God grows in my heart. Second thing. Third, the attachment to transitory things in the world. Family, wealth, name and fame, Facebook likes, social media status, creature comforts may become less and less every day. So the pull becomes less. Threefold. One is the central practice of repeating the name of God. As the Goswami said, he fully supports it. But important, back it up with an ethical life. But I can't. I make mistakes in my life. Then take the help of God. Pray to God for, one is the positive pull towards God, and the negative is to reduce the pull towards the world. Keep doing that intensively. Yes.
Namaste, Swamiji. So in Gita, when Krishna says, Antakalecha mameva smaran mukva kalevaram. So is that what Thakur is referring to? Because at the time of death, Ajamila had that spiritual fortitude to remember God and God's name.
Although he actually didn't. He took the name of his son. But anyway, all right, the point is taken. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Antakale. Those who leave the body, remembering me, they attain me. But then next, what does he say? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara. Therefore, in order to remember me at the end of life, remember me throughout life. It will not work at the end of life. The body is weak, the mind is weak. We are under pain or disease. Who knows how we'll pass away? Or we might not even remember. It might be sudden. We might go. Although we might think that we are not particularly spiritual, we might not remember, but people do remember the time of death. This monk who had a terrible accident, he didn't die. Let me give you the story before, so unless you worry about that. He didn't die at the end of it, but he was in the northeast of India, which is a hilly area, mountainous area, and he was driving down from from a place in Meghalaya. A very beautiful state in the northeast of India. Literally, it means the abode of clouds. Meghalaya. He was driving down. There was a driver in the car, and the roads are winding. The hill roads. And so, at one place there was an accident, and the car went off the road and tumbled into a gorge. And the Swami said, "I was going down to the big city at the foothills in a state called Assam. He was going there. And I had some work, to go to government offices with this project and that project. I was worried about that, thinking about that. And as the car tumbled off the road and spun into the gorge, I immediately started taking the name of Ramakrishna. And that I'm going to die now, so I only thought of Sri Ramakrishna. Luckily, the car got trapped in a tree, and they were able to pull out, and nobody was hurt, except the car. And then later he said, I felt so happy that at the last instant, when I was sure I was going to die, instantly I remembered Sri Ramakrishna. So that I'm happy, at least that happened. That means it's possible. Although before that I was thinking about all sorts of other stuff. Yes. So it requires, that's what Sri Ramakrishna is telling the Goswami. It requires practice, and that practice has to be grounded in ethical life also. One cannot be in this pull all the time. I want God, I want the world, I want them both together. Not possible. I am being pulled this way and that way. Then he switches. Yes.
Swamiji, in Karma Yoga, they talk about 3 steps. The last one being work as worship. The one before that is work and worship.
No, work and worship, work as worship, and work is worship. Yeah.
So, if you talked about this, God and the world, is that the same as work and worship?
Remember, work in itself is not against worship. Its involvement in the world, the work can be converted into worship. So your job, your family, your community work, whatever you do, you can offer it to God, because all of these do belong to God. It is the same divinity manifesting in all beings, whether it's in your office or your family, in the community. So it's all worship of God, as long as we keep that attitude in mind. Yes, but the point, what you have raised, 3 steps. Work and worship, work as worship, and work is worship. So work is worship, it's become it's rhetorical, like a slogan. But really speaking, work is worship is not so easy at all. So that's why Swami Madhavanand, a senior monk of our order, used to say, first work and worship. So you must set aside time for meditation. You must set aside time for scriptural study. Like we have set aside time for this class. And do your work. But then slowly convert the work also into worship. Work as worship. One of my spiritual practices is the work that I do. In the office, in the family, in the community. Even taking care of myself. The physical, financial, medical, whatever it is. All of that is also worship. Taking care of whatever you do in the world is worship. One reason why you must do that is, most of our time and energy is taken up by work. what you are doing in the family, in your jobs, in your community. That's what takes up. How much of your energy, how much of our energy is taken up by meditation and study? Unless you are a monk and that too a monk strictly in a monastery or in a mountain cave. Otherwise, the world extracts a lot from you. And unless we convert that time and energy into worship, the space for spiritual practice shrinks. The energy for spiritual practice shrinks. The time, we keep saying we have no time for spiritual practice. It shrinks when the world pushes it into a corner. And the double problem with that is, on one hand, there is no time and energy left over to be dedicated to a spiritual pursuit. On the other hand, our worldly pursuits remain just that, worldly, secular, bereft of meaning and purpose. And when you become spiritual, this is one complaint I often hear. I now really don't see any meaning in all of that, in the job, in the worldly responsibilities or expectations. I don't see any meaning in that, because we are making a clear division. Sacred and secular. It's a useful division to make, but ultimately it must be bridged. Not to secularize the sacred, it is to spiritualize the secular. So all of that, you have to continue working, but can it become spiritual practice? Can it become a worship of God? The work that we do. It has to. Then the work that we do also will have meaning. Well, I am worshipping my Lord. Whether it's in the hospital or in the school or in your corporate office, I am worshipping my Lord. That's your internal attitude. Then as your meditation has meaning, that work also has meaning. As your puja here has meaning, that work in the office also has meaning. So work as worship. But then the highest is worship, not as a slogan. Literally, when we see divinity inside and outside. So when I close my eyes, I find God within in meditation. When I open my eyes, I find God without, God outside. And my worship is work. So work is worship literally. Yes.
Swamiji, would you mind if I pull you back to the previous page? So on the previous page, there was a description of Swami Ramakrishna Paramahansa when he's communing with devotees. And that description was threefold. One was where he was consumed in divine consciousness. The second one was when he was dancing with the devotees. And the third was when he was singing out loud. And the description stated that there were three different levels of consciousness. Can you reconcile that with the Vedantic approach of, in the waking world, it is only waking state of consciousness? I'm having difficulty reconciling God consciousness as something we can kind of slip in and out of in the waking state.
Right. Before relating it to Vedanta, we'll need to understand what he's referring to here. It's a Vaishnava paradigm, and it refers actually to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had these three states. In Bengali, they are known as Antardasha, Ardhavajyadasha, and Vajyadasha. So the inward mood or inward state. So from externally, we will see this person is not at all, you are not at all aware of the external world. We see that, as he describes, standing still like a picture. Again and again you find this description. Whenever Sri Ramakrishna goes into Samadhi, sometimes he's standing, sometimes he's sitting. But it's like absolutely still like a picture. And not just sitting still. Dr. Sarkar checked. His pulse has stopped. His heartbeat has stopped. There is no reaction to the pupils. He touched. Actually, in the presence of so many people, he touched the eyeballs with a finger. No reaction. So physiologically, like he's dead. But his face is glowing with joy and delight. Is deeply immersed. Now, it's not a state of unconsciousness. This is spiritual unconsciousness. What it means is he's unconscious of the external world. The entire attention is absorbed in God. So the presence of God he feels, and the whole of attention is absorbed there. He's not aware of the world. He does not, with his eyes open, he does not see. Ears are there, does not hear. You can't feel touch in the body. By the way, even just as an aside, stopping the heartbeat and the pulse. You might think that's crazy, but it doesn't take a very spiritual person to do that. I've actually seen it myself. There was this yogi whom I met. He was traveling through. He claimed not to eat. At least as long as we saw him, he really did not eat. He drank water but did not eat anything. And that was for a few days. And he's perfectly healthy. And he claimed to draw his sustenance from the sun. A little bit like a plant, I think. Photosynthesis. And he showed us the method in which he did it, a yogic kriya. He went up to the roof and we followed him. And he sat or stood, I don't remember, but he looked at the sun and his eyes rolled inwards. His chest and face became red. Somehow the blood traveled upwards, congested with blood. And he was completely unaware of us. He had told us at that state to check his pulse and all, and it stopped. Which I checked myself and others checked also. It stopped completely. And he could remain like that for quite some period of time. Some kind of yogic practice. And he said by that practice he was not seeing God. Absolutely, he had no spiritual dimension to it. He says it's possible. And he had this idea, if he could teach it to everybody, you didn't need to farm. You could directly, each of us could. But then that would do away with the entire food industry. All the restaurants and all would go out of business here in New York. And what do you do when it's very cloudy, when there's no, we'd all starve. So, it is a state of non-awareness of the external world. But he's entirely fully aware. It's not asleep. He's not asleep. He's not in coma or anesthesia. He's, in fact, very, very awake. Like the Buddha said, I am awake. Buddha means the awake. He is very, very awake, but not awake to the world. So that is called antardasha, the inward state. And then the world appears to him like a dream. And he has not fully come back into this bodily sense. And that is the middle state. Half externalized. What is he called it? Semi-conscious. It's not semi-conscious. He is fully conscious. But just not totally conscious of this world. You have to see such a state. I have seen people in that state. Not this totally internal state, but this semi-aware of the world and deeply immersed in a spiritual reality. If you see it, you cannot forget it. So if you see such people, you will realize that they are absolutely awake. Not only awake, they have a tremendous effect of people around you. People around their spiritual awareness becomes awakened. You feel like a wave rippling out from that person. If you just look at that person's face, your very hair will stand on its end. Just that person's face, not that what that person is seeing. We don't know what he's seeing or experiencing. So that's the half external state. And at that state, Sri Ramakrishna could, dance with those divine dancers. But he couldn't speak properly. He couldn't utter complete words. And then finally, when he would be aware of this external, still fully awake, but now he's fully aware of the world and his own body. And now he can sing and dance with all of them. So these are the three states. Now, related to Vedanta, that's another whole paradigm. Yes.
Swamiji, I somehow have never been able to look at my work as a worship of God. So those three things that you just talked about, how do I make the switch to see my work as the divinity and not be irritated? Because many times I've quit the world and gone and did the whole spiritual thing, and then I would get there and I'm like, oh, it's the same thing as in corporate America, and then I would go back and then, oh, not this again, quit it, so I've gone through these cycles, and I've realized that that's the problem. The problem is that I haven't been able to see the divinity.
True.
Even in the neighborhood, if I'm on the Upper West Side, I should see everyone as, divine.
First of all, that You're right. This is a very important, very important issue. I'll quote Vivekananda to you. Powerful lines which really affected me. He said, okay, the context is this. I had sort of left the monastery and gone into the Himalayas. So for me, even leaving the world and going to the monastery is not enough. Leaving the monastery and going off into the mountains and a lot of monks do that. So I did I'm not the first and not the last. And I went off into the Himalayas and I begged for my food, I meditated and stayed in huts and things like that. And I was on my way back to the monastery after 2 months of doing that. This is the first time I did it. This was 20 years ago, 19 years ago. And on the way back, I was staying in this little ashram of ours in a place called Uttarkashi, which is in the Himalayas. It's not very high, 5,000, 6,000 feet there. And I clearly remember, one afternoon I was reading this, and Swami Vivekananda says, now it will make sense to you why it affected me so powerfully. He who runs away to meditate and die in a Himalayan cave has missed the way. You can imagine, made me sit up. He who plunges into the vanities and the foolishnesses of the world has missed the way. Now this is interesting. Either you run away from the world into an ashram or a monastery or in the mountain cave, or you plunge into the world, Hollywood, Wall Street. This is the world. Plunge into it. Realize try to grasp it with both hands and try to be happy here. He says both have missed the way. And the solution comes in the third sentence. The way is to divinize life itself. Wherever you are, with whomever you are, to see God in everybody. In everybody and everything. Why? First of all, it's the truth. See, our conception of God must say, first is the philosophical part of it. What do we think is divine? What do we think is God? What do we think is spiritual? This, here, right now. All the time, past, future, it's the same divine reality. And right now also, the present. Everywhere. Here, wherever you have been, and wherever you will go. And everybody, living beings, those you like, those you do not like, those you are indifferent to, those whom you know, those who you do not know, they are all equally one divinity appearing to you in all these ways. And one more. This is the immanence of the divine. Immanence means God in this universe. These are nothing but God. One more step beyond. You are that reality. You are that reality. I love this, I don't know who said it, but I love this thing. It says, this a statement, a saying. It says, whatever is beyond you, whatever is behind you, and whatever yet lies in front of you is as nothing compared to what is within you. We are always so hung up on what happened to me and others in life, in past, what has happened, what's happening now, and in future. Either if you are young and bright and chirpy, you look forward to the future. Something great is going to happen. Nothing will, but anyway. Because even if great things do happen, what you expect, they do happen, you will find they're not particularly great. Yeah. So, and in most cases, what we expect won't happen. So that's there. So what we expect in the future, we are hung up on that, either in expectation or in fear and anxiety. What's going to happen to me in 10 years, 20 years' time? Is as nothing. The best things and the worst things, nothing compared to that magnificence which is within you. It's not a positive psychology statement, an affirmation, No. It's a simple statement of fact. And to understand that, we need Vedanta. You are that thou art, Tattvamasi. You are that reality which shines forth as this entire world. I was in the temple in Santa Barbara when I said this, and afterwards we went for our meal, and somebody left a note on the kitchen counter. Whatever is behind you and whatever is yet in front of you is as nothing compared to what is within you and what is within the freezer. So we all rushed to the freezer, opened it, and there was ice cream inside the freezer. Yeah. So yes, living in the presence of God, it's possible. And then you will see that irritation goes down. How can you be irritated with God? See, the source of difficulty is, biggest source of difficulty, not even illness, not even financial problems, really often a real big source of difficulty is other people in our lives. Sarth, he said, hell is other people. Hell is other people. So other people in our lives. Let me end with this. Sri Ramakrishna's formula, 3-step formula of dealing with difficult people in your lives. And see how different this is from all the positive psychology stuff and the counseling stuff and all that we hear. All very wise things, but this is a spiritual solution and a very practical spiritual solution. 3-step formula for dealing with difficult people in your life. First step, patience. We are often impatient with others. We often are too quick to judge others. Sri Ramakrishna says, in Bengali, this works only in Bengali. I'll tell you the original and then try to translate. Sha, 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 je shoy, she roy, je na shoy, tad na shoy. Translated, it means forbear, be patient, forbear. Those who forbear, they survive. Those who do not, those who react in violence or breakdown or whatever it is, they perish. That's step 1. But he doesn't stop there. Practice forbearance. Be patient, be steady. Put up with a lot. I remember this monk who told me this, very dynamic senior Swami. He told me a story of his early days as a monk. He was this novice in a monastery and he was not getting along well with some of the other monks who were senior to him. Now he used to write letters, in those days postcards, to Swami Dhireshananda, who was a very great monk of our order, whom I never saw but just missed him by a few years. And Swami Dhireshananda would send him words of wisdom and encouragement. So one day he wrote to Swami Dhireshananda, I can't bear it anymore. I can't bear these people anymore. I'm going to quit. And he waited for the reply. In some ways it's good that they didn't have email. Now they want a reply that very same day, the very same, like within hours or minutes. There you have to wait for a month for the quickest reply. So a month later, the little note, this postcard comes back with one line. And it said, remember, there are many who are bearing with you also. He said that made me furious. I thought I would get some words of sympathy from him, encouragement from him. He said, there are many people who are putting up with you right at this moment. If they can, why can't you put up with them? So the counsel of patience, strength. The patient person is the strong person. The person who reacts is the weak person. Step 1, only step 1. Step 2, but if this is not possible, there are people whose difficulty level is at another level. You can't be patient with them. And so Sri Ramakrishna, he says there, hiss but don't bite. So there's the story of the brahmachari who came across a village and there was the villagers told him, don't go by that way, there's a poisonous cobra who will bite you. The brahmachari said, no, he won't do anything to me. I know the mantras and all that. And the cobra came hissing at him to bite him and the brahmachari said, hey, stop that. Don't do that. The cobra said, what should I do? Teach me. Of course, he spoke, I'm sure, in Sanskrit. And the brahmachari said, look, here is the mantra. Repeat the mantra. And what should I practice? Practice, non-harm. Don't harm anybody. And don't bite anybody. Don't bite anybody. And then he left. Years later, he passed through the same village again. And then he asked, where is the cobra? And the villagers said, oh, that we haven't seen the cobra in years. Must be dead. No, he can't die until he attains enlightenment. I gave him a powerful mantra. And then he went looking for the cobra, and finally the cobra crawled out of a hole. And his body was emaciated, it was broken. And the cobra was very sweet. It came and bowed down to the brahmachari. And the brahmachari said, "What happened to you?" "Oh, nothing." "No, something happened to you." Then the cobra thought and, "Oh yes, years ago these naughty boys who were playing around, and they realized I wasn't going to bite them. So one of them picked me up by the tail and swung me around and smashed me into the ground, and so it broke my vertebra. And okay, it's all right. They're kids. It's no big deal." And then the brahmachari said, "Oh, what have you done? I told you not to bite. I didn't tell you not to hiss." So he said, "Hiss, don't bite." Sri Ramakrishna's second level formula. You can be formidable. You can be a person nobody will fool with without actually harming people. There's a lot of psychological research which shows often we invite aggression, violence, manipulation. If you're simple, straightforward, strong, the way you carry yourself, the words you speak, the life you lead, some difficult people will not mess with you. Second level. Third level, there are some whose difficulty level is even beyond this. So even that will not work. Third level, final level, Sri Ramakrishna's advice. Do not embrace the tiger Narayana. So that everybody is Narayana, everybody is God. God is everywhere. Tiger is also God, but that doesn't mean you're going to embrace the tiger. So what do? Bow down to the tiger Narayana from a distance and say, Tiger Narayana. Don't go near the tiger Narayana. So you have to avoid. There you have to clearly, you have a goal in life, a spiritual goal in life. You can't let other people mess it up. When we have a material goal in life, you want to get a degree, you won't let people disturb you. You're working hard for your PhD or something, you don't let people disturb you. You are working hard to make $1 million, you don't let people disturb you. You are working hard in a laboratory to scientific research, you don't let people disturb you. You are working hard to find God, don't let people disturb you. So, gulf of distance, maintain that distance. Good. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.